Okay, welcome back. Michael Kostroff here, reading through my book Letters from Backstage, which tells the story of my time on the road. I've got I've got my cat Link, who is probably going to jostle the tripod at some point. I've got my tea and I've got my book, and it's time for the next chapter. Chapter 11. Clang, clang, clang went the trolley. Pop, pop, pop went the gastrocnemius. April 26th, 2003. Dear friends, I wish you could see my face right now. I look like I'm about 8 years old, grinning like an idiot. I look like the family dog when he hangs his head out of the car window and squints in the wind. That's me. I'm riding on a cable car, which, I'm sorry, I don't care what anyone says, is cool. Now, there are 3 places for passengers to ride on a cable car. There's the rear section, which is enclosed, with benches along the sides that face in. Then there's the outside section where the driver works, pulling and releasing the brakes, and here there are more benches facing out. And then beyond these benches, on the outside of the car, are the running boards, where passengers can stand holding onto poles. That's where you want to be, especially if you're a boy, because it's cool and you can pretend dangerous. You're outside the car on the edge where it's exciting. You can feel the wind in your face. When the car climbs a steep hill, you really have to hang on tight. And when it slowly crests the top of that hill, and suddenly the boats on the sparkling bay and the shimmering buildings of downtown rise into view, it's really hard not to grin. But what makes it even better? This is how I get to work every day. I'm not just some tourist. I'm a citizen. I throw on my neato producer's jacket. I stroll down to my cable car stop. I flash my monthly pass, thank you, and off I go to the theater. I've acclimated so quickly, in fact, that I sometimes find myself getting impatient with the visiting yokels who haven't yet grasped our transportation system. Come on, people, some of us have to get to work, I think, feigning annoyance. It's downright joyous. You can always spot the tourists. They're the ones without jackets and hats. As we San Franciscans know, you always need a jacket and a hat, even on warmer days, because the temperature will plummet after dark. Supposedly, Mark Twain once wrote, "The coldest winter I ever saw was the summer I spent in San Francisco." Oh, that Mark. Footnote, it's unverified, though often attributed, according to www.twainquotes.com. Unlike in Portland, where I hid inside for 2 weeks, here in San Francisco, I've really been getting out and around and exploring. The other day, a tourist asked me for directions, and before I could say, sorry, I don't live here, I realized that I actually knew the answer. Oh, you'll want to take the F train. It runs along Market. Or you can go down these stairs to the Metro. Well, look at me. Just another helpful San Franciscan. I'm sharing an apartment with a friend of a friend who lives here in Nob Hill, which I've discovered is the upscale neighborhood. I figured this out because whenever I mentioned that I was living here, the reaction was, oh, excuse me, Nob Hill. Scott, my host and roommate, works for Pottery Barn. You know when you leaf through those catalogs, how they have photos of these perfectly furnished rooms where everything matches and everything has its impossibly perfect place, and you think, who lives like this? Well, this guy does. I mean, there's a color scheme, for goodness sakes. The candles are coordinated with the rooms. Every surface has 2 or 3 perfectly selected tchotchkes. If there were a magazine called Apartment Beautiful, this place would be it. Would be in it. It's a sweet, comfortable 2-bedroom in a beautiful old building with bay windows. Sunlight streams into my bedroom all day long. Scott works long hours on the weekdays, and I work most nights, so we hardly ever cross paths. Every once in a while, he'll be up late after I get home from the theater, and we'll check in. I keep the cupboards and refrigerator stocked for myself so I can cook at home, listening to Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong on the living room stereo. I've called the phone company and activated the second phone line in my room. The whole thing feels very much like I've moved to San Francisco. We're right on the cable car line. And late at night, as I head to sleep, I can hear them going by. It's a lovely, spooky, comforting sound. It's hard to describe. A sort of scraping, but a pleasant scraping. Like like roller skates on pavement, only deeper as it squeals to a stop. And then, in the nighttime silence, a bell, the signal that the car is about to resume its journey. It's romantic and lonely, like the sound of a distant train in the middle of the night. You find yourself wondering who might be riding at that hour. I wish I could describe it better. It's a sound I've come to love. I'll miss it when the show moves on. On our corner is a little hole-in-the-wall Chinese restaurant that just happens to be credited with having the best dumplings in the city. Oh, trust me, they're fantastic. Down another block is an unassuming little corner deli where they make great breakfasts on a hot plate behind the counter. It's become my regular haunt on matinee days. To say that San Francisco is a great city is like saying that New York is a great city. Duh, no kidding. Many great writers have paid it tribute, and their observations are far more interesting than anything that I could offer, so I'm not going to try to sum up San Francisco based on my little experience here, but I will say this. It's easy to see why hippies, poets, psychics, performance artists, experimental hallucinators, and other free thinkers have always gravitated towards this place. The light is different. It has a sunny haze that's utterly pixelating. It makes you feel trippy and groovy. So you've no doubt picked up a change in tone. Yes, I'm happy here. It's hard not to be. It's a happy town, and I have my little routines, and the show is fun again. And since the 7-month LA run is next, I've seen my last hotel for a while. I like hotels, but a steady diet of polyester bedspreads and the ding of elevators can get you after a while. I'm enjoying the change. The audiences are sharp here, and the show's getting a fine reception, though we've made an amusing discovery. When we play more conservative cities, they laugh louder. They have no problem with humor about Jews, gays, blacks, women, or anyone else. It's funny. They laugh. But when we play the more liberal cities, they're not quite sure if it's okay to laugh at some of the jokes. It may not be correct, so they're a bit restrained. Go figure, one actor observed. The liberals are conservative. And when it came to the show's gay scene, in which we meet Roger, Carmen, and a house full of very gay assistants, a scene which elicited screams all across the country, the San Francisco reaction seems to say, yeah, so what? We see drag queens and Leathermen every day. I have a few great friends here, one of whom I'd completely lost touch with. Then one night, there were Rebecca and her husband waiting for me outside the stage door, wearing huge matching smiles. They were as shocked and delighted to see me on stage as I was to see them afterwards. This is one of the perks of the road, surprise reunions. My friend Sue came out to visit her sister who lives here, and the three of us spent a fun day together being tourists. We watched sea lions, took the ferry to Sausalito, and ate dinner in Chinatown. Naturally, as a resident, I knew how to get to all those places. In anticipation of our LA run, I decided to put together a Kostroff guide to Los Angeles, containing miscellaneous recommendations for restaurants, doctors, movie theaters, sightseeing, discounts, and so on, interspersed with jokes, insider tips, and driving shortcuts. Most of our company is out of New York, so I figured I'd help them get adjusted. It made for a fun project, and I'm very pleased with the results. 16 pages worth. The company managers copied and distributed the Kostroff guide to the various dressing rooms the other day, and already I can hear people enjoying it, especially the jokes. Here's my favorite. A Hollywood film director goes to heaven. St. Peter greets him at the gate. St. Peter, congratulations, you made it. By the way, God loves your work. The director, really? Wow, I didn't even know he liked the movies. St. Peter, oh yes, in fact, now that you're here, God has chosen you to direct the greatest film of all time. We have Michelangelo to do the sets, Da Vinci for special effects, and Monet designing the costumes. The script is by Shakespeare, the score is by Bach, we have Billie Holiday to sing the main theme, and it's going to star Olivier, Barrymore, Bernhardt, the greatest actors of all time. Director, wow, it's the perfect movie. So who's the leading lady? St. Peter, yeah, well, see, that's the thing. Director, what? St. Peter, you see, God has this girlfriend. It's a very inside film joke. I don't know if that landed with all of you, but yeah, there's always a girlfriend. We're approaching the changing of the guard when Jason Alexander and Martin Short will take over for Lewis and Don. These two names will join us here in San Francisco for daytime rehearsals as we continue to perform the show at night with the current cast. And then the producers have decided to sneak them into the show unannounced for the final week of the San Francisco run. A dress rehearsal for them and a great surprise for the audience. Once we get to LA, the great juggle takes place. Jason and Martin officially take over the leads. Lewis and Don go to Broadway. The current Broadway leads leave to star in the second national tour. Leroy also goes to the second national tour, replaced in our company by Gary Beach. Josh Prince replaces Michael Paternostro, and Michael leaves the show altogether, having decided not to continue to LA. It's complicated, I know. Even we have a hard time keeping track. It's a weird time. As much as we look forward to working with our new guys, we've been through quite a journey with Lewis, Don, Leroy, and Michael. And though they may return after LA, we all know the show's about to change substantially. It's the end of an era. And then it got even weirder when Michael broke his foot and had to leave us early. It was an abrupt goodbye to a guy who's been a terrific asset to the company in both personality and talent. Josh will step in earlier than planned. Meanwhile, as my agent Eric would say, here's something interesting. Louis Stadlin will be taking a week's vacation before going to Broadway, which leaves a 1-week gap before Jason goes on in San Francisco. So I have an exciting opportunity. I'll be playing Max for an entire week while everyone is here. Mel Brooks, Susan Stroman, Jason, Martin, and several of the producers. None of these folks have seen me in the role, so it's good for my future with the show. Apparently, they've heard good things, and they all want to see me. I think they're grooming me as a future Max. Our new stars arrived on a Thursday, and we began rehearsals. It was great to see Jason, who's a friend. We'd worked together years ago, and I found him to be among the warmest, realest, most genuine guys you could ever hope to meet. We've stayed in touch over the years, and we've been greatly looking forward to working together again. That night, we did our show. It was an exciting evening knowing everyone was there. It was the first time Ms. Stroman had seen us since we opened in Pittsburgh in September. We knew the show was good, and we wanted her to see that, and we knew it was one of our last shows with Lewis and Don and Leroy, who were as funny as ever. As always, the audience howled. I suppose, if anything, I may have been doing things with more gusto than usual, or maybe there was some subconscious self-sabotage. Who knows? All I can tell you is that minutes into Act 2, I was running off into the wings when I felt a small pop and a tingle in my left calf. Nothing terribly painful. It could have been a cramp, but it wasn't. I limped off stage. Rolt rushed over. Can you go on? I don't know. Try walking. Okay. I hobble a few steps. How does it feel? Should we put Goddard on? I don't know. Michael, we have to make a decision. Put it this way. Can you tap? Me, laughing. No. And that was that. Goddard, on a moment's notice, suited up and finished the show in my place. I limped to the dressing room alone, iced the injury, changed, and quietly went home while the show continued. The next day I went to the doctor. I was sure it was just a sprain or something. No such luck. I had torn my gastrocnemius, a calf muscle. Who knew? Funny how you always learn Latin when you injure yourself. All I wanted to know was how long it would be before I could return to the show. I was on as Max in just a few days. I knew Rolt would need information. The doctor wasn't sure. 3 to 10 days, maybe. Now, 10 days would mean missing my chance to play Max for the bigwigs, so I decided it would be 3. But doctors, my friend Mary will tell you, always lie. Always. They say a week, it's a month. They say 6 weeks, it's 8. In this case, they kept extending the estimate. I don't know why the doctor said 3 to 10 days, a physical therapist told me a few days later. Injuries like this always take 14 days minimum. And even that, it turned out, was a lie. My 3-day plan was out the window. I couldn't manage to walk in a manner that resembled that of a human person. Secretly, I tried a dance step or two back in the apartment. It looked like I was sneaking barefoot across hot coals, and no one wants to see this. This is gonna take a while. The following week, Fred Applegate went on as Max in my place, and everyone was very pleased. I hopped, literally, into a cab and headed down to the theater to see his first performance, and I must say, it was thrilling. He saved the day, as I'd done back in Cleveland. Knowing the part as well as I do, I knew what a big feat that was. Herculean. And I was so proud of him. So was everyone else, including Brooks and Stroman. I ran into Ms. Stroman backstage at intermission. "I'm sorry you didn't get to see me do Max," I shrugged sheepishly. "What can I tell you? It's the key to comedy. Timing." "Yes, timing. Let's talk timing." I began to amuse myself, thinking of all the better times this could have happened. If I had to injure myself and be out of the show, why couldn't it have happened in Cleveland? You all remember Cleveland, where I hated the city and my job but loved the apartment? That would have been a perfect time to tear the old gastrocnemius. Or how about Portland? I was hibernating there anyway. I could have convalesced by the pool while munching on room service cuisine. Or why not San Diego, where I was blissfully enjoying the heavenly weather and the great hotel? If it had happened there, I could have recuperated surrounded by kids and a dog at my friend Amy's house. Think of the sympathy. But no, I had to go injure myself in a great city that I loved exploring, days before my first opportunity to play the lead in The Producers with everyone watching. Timing. Ba-dum-bum. Is this thing on? And so, my friends, my life in San Francisco changed suddenly and drastically. The injury, while not especially painful, was especially annoying, particularly in a city made up of hills. Tearing your gastrocnemius affects your foot's range of motion, so it's painful to flex. Hills. Bad. So I sat at home at night while the show went on. I cabbed to physical therapy several times a week, and I fought boredom. I kept in touch with Rolt, keeping him apprised of the latest false estimate of when I'd be back in the show. At first, I hung out at the theater during the day watching rehearsals so I could feel like an involved member of the company, but after a while I realized I was just making people uncomfortable. They seemed to feel like they had to extend sympathy whenever they saw me, and I think that was getting old for all of us. I had come to terms with the fact that for the moment, I wasn't part of the show. In the grand tradition, it was going on without me. So I watched TV, I chatted online. To cheer myself up, I decided to plan my vacation, and that helped a bit. I wandered through hundreds of online photos of beautiful vacation spots in the sunny Mexican Caribbean in search of the locale that would most closely resemble those Corona beer commercials. Picturing myself there became my great pastime. Sometimes I'd get ambitious and hop to the kitchen or out to the stoop for some air. Taking a shower required circus skills. A few closer friends in the company checked on me once or twice. I put on a cheery voice, cracked a few jokes, but it was lonely. I felt forgotten. I listened to the cable car ring its bell late at night. I missed riding on them. I don't remember much about San Francisco after that. I suppose I could have gone home to LA, but the doctors were still stringing me along, and I wanted to return to work as soon as I could. Maybe another week or two, they were now telling me. But you said 3 weeks tops. 3 weeks? Oh no. These things are always 4 weeks minimum. Liars. All in all, it really wasn't a tragedy. It was just an inconvenience, a disappointment, and a big drag. People love to try to think of reasons why things happen as they do. I have a different kind of philosophy. It goes like this. Some things just suck. Shit happens. No point in making yourself crazy, wondering why. There isn't always a reason. And I was lucky, at least I had a job to go back to, which among other things provided tremendous incentive. I couldn't wait to get back to work, and that made me a model physical therapy patient. And as the run drew to a close back at the theater, I was home in my Pottery Barn bedroom, packing my trunk, happily anticipating being back in my own apartment. I was getting around fairly well by now, and I greatly looked forward to returning the show in time for the LA previews, but now, as I contemplated going back on the stage again, a new concern arose. After a month's absence, would I remember my roles? There was one thing I knew for sure. I never again wanted to hear someone wish me break a leg. Stay tuned, readers. Kostrov. All right. In our next chapter, we will hit LA. Let's see what's in store for us. I hope you're continuing to enjoy these chapters. Remember, lots of books available if you want them. My gift to you. I just need your address so I can send it to you. And that's it. That was a real fork in the road, I have to tell you. That changed my entire trajectory with the producers. and changed Fred Applegate's entire trajectory with the producers. But shit happens, as I said. Okay, friends, see you soon.